Kevin Skrimmer here, and we're going to talk about the coronavirus because I want to make sure you have good, high-quality, science-backed information on this virus pandemic. I usually publish gaming videos and gaming podcasts, but this virus is serious enough, and there's enough misinformation out there where a video needs to be made on this. The coronavirus is affecting how we go about our daily lives all around the world, so I feel the need to talk about this virus in a fairly comprehensive manner, what it is, how it's affecting our everyday life, share some statistics, inform you why it's worse than the flu, what you can do about it, and how video games will play its part since this is a gaming channel after all. In 2015, Bill Gates gave a TED Talk about viruses. The next outbreak, we're not ready. Needless to say, he was correct. The US was not ready. The first case of the novel coronavirus appeared about November 17th in Wuhan, China. This would have been patient 0, the first person who came in contact with the virus. The virus would have gone undetected for a while. It wasn't until December that China realized they had a new virus mutation on their hands. The virus is named SARS-CoV-2, and the disease it causes has been named Coronavirus Disease 2019, abbreviated COVID-19. The World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic on March 11th. Since the virus has origins in bats, let's briefly talk about how a virus in an animal can infect humans. Viruses are an organic parasite that can affect all forms of life. If they make contact, they can infect and replicate and then transmit to others. Once inside the body, the virus has to survive before being destroyed by the body's natural immune response. To do this, the virus hijacks the cell's reproductive machinery to replicate itself. Next, the virus evades the immune system and continues to replicate. If the host sneezes, coughs, or touches surfaces without washing his or her hands, the virus can spread to a new host, be it animals, other humans, or plants. If the genetic dissimilarity is too significant, it will not be able to infect the host. Viruses can develop random mutations. Once in a while, the new mutation will be able to infect a new species, such as humans. Viruses need time to mutate in genetic similarity for a host jump to succeed. Each successful host jump increases the potential for an epidemic. Because the China population is so large and crowded at over 1.4 billion people, and because how often they interact with so many different food sources, such as in the markets, it makes China the likelier candidate to get these new virus mutations first. The coronavirus was first written about in detail in the 1960s, and SARS was recognized as a strain of coronavirus in 2003, and first human infections can be traced back to 2002. The new COVID-19 is a newer mutation that is able to jump from host to host and is able to infect humans more successfully than previous mutations, which is why this new strain is so much more deadly. This strain is deadly because it's so infectious. Even though coronavirus has been around before, the virus didn't have capabilities of the COVID-19 mutation. And because there is no pre-existing immunity against this new virus, it's able to spread worldwide. Those who are older or with medical conditions like lung disease, diabetes, and heart disease can suffer from the most severe form of the virus. If you are under 50 with no pre-existing conditions, the mortality rate is less than 0.2%. With this virus, the younger you are, the better chance you have. The best way to prevent yourself from getting the virus is social distancing, which is basically a fancy way of saying stay away from other people. Wash your hands with soap and warm water for 20 seconds after being in public places. Use hand sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol. Avoid touching your face, eyes, nose, mouth. If you're sick, stay home. Cover all coughs and sneezes to prevent others from getting sick, and clean and disinfect surfaces daily. The virus is able to stay in the air for about 3 hours, and the virus can stay on certain surfaces from 3 to 7 days. People may not know that they are infected until a few days after when they start showing symptoms. Symptoms can be flu-like symptoms like fever, cough, or shortness of breath. Of course, be careful with misinformation about the virus. There was a social media influencer named Coach Crystal on Instagram who lied about the virus, saying inflammation is the cause. She was just trying to promote her detox coaching experience, which is absolutely ridiculous and terrible. There's also been misinformation that kids cannot contract the virus, which is obviously not true. If you are a human being, you can get the virus. Now, it seems like kids are less likely to get the virus. Scientists are not sure why yet. We could only speculate. Perhaps the virus mutation is specific to adults, or it has to deal with how the lungs are developed in older people. Younger kids have mild symptoms, and if they get infected by it, they sometimes just don't get sick. Other misinformation is that saunas help get rid of infectious diseases, but there is no evidence of that. There is also no evidence that this is a bioweapon. This is a virus that has mutated and developed naturally. Also, normal masks cannot prevent you from getting the virus, but it can stop it spreading to other people. There are also scammers who are trying to take advantage of fear caused by coronavirus to either steal information or steal money, so if you're getting links through emails or texts from random sources, be careful what you click on. In the US, as of March 13th, 8:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there are at least 2,110 people in 48 states and in Washington, D.C. who have tested positive for the coronavirus with 48 deaths. In half a day, those case numbers went up by a few hundred. It's now in 49 states. And now there are 50 deaths. And those are only reported cases. I would have to assume the real amount of cases are at least double that. The West Coast and New York have been hit hardest as people frequently travel to and from those areas. The global death toll is currently over 5,000, with over 133,000 cases reported in 127 countries and territories, with an over 3% fatality rate. Hopefully these numbers won't grow much higher by the time this is published. Looking at the numbers and maps day by day, the number of cases and deaths continue to rise due to the exponential growth factor. Severe cases of the virus are due to the virus damaging the host's lungs, and the host is unable to get the necessary oxygen needed, and the body is unable to repair itself while fighting off the virus quickly enough. A few days ago, the hashtag #everythingIsCancelled was trending on Twitter. While that may sound funny, because it's true, the best way to decelerate the exponential growth of the virus is social distancing and quarantine. Even if it doesn't seem to be working on stopping the spread of the virus, it's stopping the spread on some level. The inconvenience from canceling public events is a necessary, temporary thing. Why is COVID-19 worse than the flu? It has a high level of contagion. You can get the virus from just breathing if it's in the vicinity. It's difficult to detect, there's not a widespread form to test for it, and there is no vaccine. Since the infected may not know they have it, the virus can easily spread. Though the flu kills tens of thousands of Americans each year, coronavirus is estimated to be 1.5 to 2.3 times more infectious and 10 to 50 times more lethal than the flu. China was in the exponential growth phase of the virus until they cracked down hard with quarantine. The United States is currently in the exponential growth phase. What we will have to see is how effective the USA is at quarantine. If we are, the cases will start to diminish significantly. If not, the number of cases will continue increasing rapidly. If the number of cases continue to rise exponentially and the U.S.'s health system cannot handle the capacity of the cases, then it's only going to get worse and the number of fatalities will continue to rise. If there are a limited number of supplies and respirators, who gets to use them, for instance? Who do they decide who gets to live and die? And if you're young, don't count on being healthy as a reason to be careless. If you get infected, you could pass the virus to someone who isn't as healthy, or you could pass it to someone who would then pass it to someone else who is older or someone who has an unhealthy immune system. This is why we need to treat this virus very seriously. By thinking the media is blowing it out of proportion and not caring, though the media has given us plenty of reasons to not trust them, that could leave you more vulnerable. It's better to be safe than sorry. U.S. politicians like AOC and Gabbard are championing Universal Basic Income, or UBI, so families have the cash necessary until the virus passes. This virus pandemic is also incidentally making a very good case for Medicare for All, championed the most by Bernie Sanders, who has also given addresses to the nation regarding the pandemic, though they have not aired on news networks. The U.S. unfortunately did not handle the start of the virus effectively. Trump basically fired the pandemic response team in 2018, and the president tweeted a bunch of misinformation and did not handle the situation in a serious manner. Some countries basically have drive-through testing, and the United States doesn't have enough testing kits at all. The Dow Jones stock market plunged by 6,000 points when we are just at the beginning of the spread of the coronavirus here in the U.S. There are shortages of resources for health professionals. Hopefully this can pose as a wake-up call to the U.S., and the U.S. can learn to better prepare for the next future virus epidemics. Because the readiness and having all these systems and resources in place in advance for a health situation like this really is everything. When this happens again, we need a government that's prepared. The best things you can do to prepare for the virus, besides stocking up on supplies and hoping your country and health system are working effectively and efficiently, is try to stay healthy. Make sure you're getting at least 8 hours of sleep, you're drinking water, taking vitamins, going for walks or jogs, be it on the treadmill or safely outside in clean air, to make sure you keep your lungs and body healthy. This virus attacks the respiratory system, so you want to make sure you have healthy lungs. No smoking, obviously, and of course, wash your hands. And hopefully you're breathing healthy air that's not infected. We probably won't see a safe and effective vaccine until the summertime if we're lucky. Schools and colleges are being closed and students are learning remotely. Certain companies may also enforce workers to work remotely based on the severity of the spread of the virus. One bright side is hopefully workplaces will be more open-minded about remote work. Concerts and sporting events are being canceled. Stores are out of stock on many products like hand sanitizer and toilet paper as people rush to stores to stock up in advance. New York talk shows like with Stephen Colbert are currently doing shows without a live audience. The coronavirus is changing how we go about our daily lives. It's temporary and it's necessary. If the virus was detected and people were quarantined more from the beginning, we probably would not be in this mess. Allowing people to travel wherever they want and continue to easily contract the virus is a recipe for disaster. People need to put their own self-interest aside and follow what the science is telling us. It is absolutely absurd that people have been traveling long distances in December, January, February, March while this has been going on, and people would still continue to travel and go to these events unless they're canceled. And if you want more detailed information about the coronavirus, I would check out the Joe Rogan Experience, number 1439, Michael Osterholm, who is an internationally recognized expert in infectious disease epidemiology. I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't yet. It's upsetting that all this good information is hard to find, so I'm doing my part in helping get it out there. How does gaming come into all of this? Well, E3 has been canceled, which is understandable. The companies will be able to make their presentations remotely. Gaming companies like Bungie are putting in place infrastructure that will enable them to work remotely if need be. Even Pokemon Go won't make players leave the house by having Pokemon spawn closer to homes and putting a 99% discount on incense packs. A Nintendo of America employee tested positive for the coronavirus, resulting in quarantine of others who were in contact. If the coronavirus continues to affect workers over until the end of this year, the next-gen consoles could be even more expensive or just delayed. Video game release dates and updates could be pushed back, but you have to admit we have enough video games to last us for a few years. Based on how much the US stops the exponential growth of the virus, we're in this for at least a few months, probably June or July or worse. I think a lot of us here can be content with indoor entertainment for the time being. Since many people are going to be staying inside, people are going to be playing lots more video games than usual and finding other entertainment indoors. For an introvert and gamer like me, all these canceled events really don't affect me, since I'm usually making videos, blogging, making podcasts, or streaming video games anyway. People, especially kids, will also be looking to entertainers like YouTubers and streamers while being stuck at home. Video games can bond us and keep us entertained during a virus pandemic like this, where it seems like just about everything is canceled. Except work. Of course, work isn't canceled. One thing I do worry with quarantine and social events being canceled is the feeling of social isolation or loneliness and depression, which can weaken the immune system. It's important too, if we're healthy and able to, that we continue to experience our friendships in person, and if we're not able to in person, that we bond with people via online through voice chat and video chat, not just text chat. Our friendships and bonds through video games can help reinforce our immune system, and video games can distract us from the bad around us and be a form of happy escapism. Thank you for joining me. I hope that was informative and helpful. Drop a like if it was. I'd love to hear from you, so please write a comment down below how the coronavirus is affecting you. Subscribe for more videos, especially if you're into gaming content. As always, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Peace.